Hey guys, welcome back to the Reading Nook. So today we're going to be going over Francine Rivers' biblical historical fiction novel, Redeeming Love. It's actually based off the book of Hosea in the Old Testament, but Rivers takes a little more, I guess you said, literal approach to the idea of the prostitution and God's love for his, lost flock. This book is full of love, danger, some intense moments, plenty of healing, and has honestly made a really big impact on my life recently. Um, but it's also just a really beautifully written love story with really engaging characters that I found it really hard to put down. And it definitely, has enough heartbreak to leave you wanting more by the time you get done with it. And you're definitely sad by the time you get done with it, or at least I was. So I have to, before we get going, give a really big shout out actually to Michelle from Force of Light Entertainment. She reached out to me and encouraged me to read this book because she knew I, was a bookworm. And I'm really glad I did because romance is not my thing. Like, I have never been interested in romance. I hate chick flicks. I just don't like romance. But she put the tickle in my ear and I couldn't let it go, and I decided to just go for it, and I really am glad I did. This book was really entertaining and just really beautifully written. So I will post the link to her channel down below if you guys would like to go check her and her sister out. They make some really good content. So let me read you the synopsis of this book. I wrote this like 5 times myself, and then I realized why not just read off the back of the book, because it actually sums it up pretty well. Usually the whole point. California's Gold Country, 1850. A time when men sold their souls for a bag of gold and women sold their bodies for a place to sleep. Angel expects nothing from men beyond betrayal. Sold into prostitution as a child, she survives by keeping her hatred alive. And what she hates most are the men who use her, leaving her empty and dead inside. Then she meets Michael Hosea, a man who seeks his father's heart in everything. Michael Hosea obeys God's call to marry Angel and love her unconditionally. Slowly, day by day, he defies Angel's every bitter expectation until, despite her resistance, her frozen heart begins to thaw. But with her unexpected softening comes overwhelming feelings of unworthiness and fear. And so Angel runs back to darkness, away from her husband's pursuing love, terrified of the truth she can no longer deny. Her final healing must come from the one who loves her even more than Michael Hosea does, the one who will never let her go. A powerful retelling of the book of Hosea, Redeeming Love, is a life-changing story of God's unconditional, redemptive, all-consuming love. So that is what the book is about. Now, I'm going to keep this as spoiler-free as possible because honestly, I want you to go read this book. So what I'm going to do is just go over the 3 main themes that stood out to me. So the first one, which shouldn't come as a surprise, is that of redemption. It is, in the book of Hosea in the Bible, the symbol of the prostitute was actually God's way of showing Israel that they were disobeying his commands and worshiping false gods. But in the book, Rivers actually takes a lot more literal approach and uses the story of Angel as a prostitute, or soiled dove as she calls her, to show you just how God will go out of his way to save that one flock. That's like that song by I can't remember his name, but it's called Reckless Love. And in the song they talk about how God will leave the 99 to find the one, and that's definitely the story she's telling here. God goes out of his way to rescue Angel. So, but it's funny, the story of redemption is not just for Angel, obviously. A lot of the characters have to deal with the baggage they're carrying around and the sins that they've committed, and have to come to God and accept that they have wronged and have to deal with their misdeeds. Like Paul, for instance, who is essentially Angel's brother-in-law. He has to come to terms with the things that he's done, and some of them are pretty nasty. And it's interesting to watch each character find that redemption and find God's grace. But what's incredible about all these story arcs and the theme of redemption is that, one, God will wash away any sin. Like, he will cleanse you immediately. And then he will love you no matter what. Like, it's a really incredible story. And it's incredible to watch all these characters step into that love and step into that grace, because then they ultimately end up fulfilling the calling that they each had for their life. Before they stepped into that calling and submitted to God's love, they were all living really unhappy lives. So it's really, really cool to see that story of redemption play out. Um, the second theme that really stood out to me is actually the impact the kindness of strangers can have on you. What's interesting is that Angel has to learn how to love. Um, and that's because of how she's been treating her entire life. She's not accustomed to people doing things for her because they want to. She's always expecting them to want something in return from her, obviously, because of how she's been raised. But she has to learn how to accept love and then eventually turn around and give that love to others. For example, at one point, Michael and Angel find a family that's on the side of the road. Their wagon broke down, and they help them fix it. And that family ends up moving into the plot of land next to Michael's, and so they become their neighbors. And the oldest daughter befriends Angel, simply because she likes her. She's just a sweet girl, but Angel has never had that kind of friendship before. Um, you know, but she learns to love simply because this young woman, who eventually becomes a very close friend, was intentional and showed up and loved Angel despite her past. She knew what she was. Angel just like blurted it out one day. But this young woman knew what Angel was, and she's like, "No, I like you. I just want to be your friend." And that taught Angel that love is actually a real thing. It's not this made up fairy tale. Um, and actually, and then moving forward, the third and final time that Angel runs away from Michael, she actually meets a traveling peddler on the road, and she hitches a ride with him. And she actually helps him sell all his wares to the men who are working the streams in California searching for gold. Now, if she'd met that man a year earlier, she would have wanted nothing to do with him. She would not have helped him. She, would have told him to get lost. But because she had been living with Michael and these now neighbors, the Altmans, for over a year, she had learned how to love, and she was giving that love back in return. I don't think at that point she realized what she was doing, but she, like, that moment in the book when she's helping the peddler is so brief, but she made such an impact on that man's life. It was just incredible. So I think that kindness, especially the kindness of strangers, you never know who you're going to meet. You never know who is going to run into you in the day, is definitely a theme in this book of just like literally be kind. And I think that that's why it's such an honorable trait. No matter your station in life, is just literally to be kind. And Rivers really drives home that point. The third and final theme, which really stood out to me and was a really beautiful theme, was that how God takes your brokenness and he uses it for his glory. Now this part's going to have a tiny bit of spoilers, so just be forewarned if you don't want to be spoiled, maybe duck out now and then come back and finish the video when you've read the book. So after Angel runs away for the third and final time, there's a moment when she realizes, one, God's real, and two, she needs him. And he helps her out of a very, very horrible, dangerous, intense situation. After that point, Angel officially accepts God into her life. She's saved, she's baptized, and after she's accepted his redeeming love and forgiveness, she really doesn't know what to do with herself, because at this point she's still living apart from Michael, for reasons I will not say. But now that she's walking with Christ, she can't go back to her life of prostitution. But she also believes she's not meant to be with her husband. So she's like, well, what do I do with myself? And so she starts praying, God, show me what I'm supposed to do. Like, I can't just sit here. I can't sit here and, be taken care of by strangers, because she was at this point. And, God answered her prayer. And he actually has her start a shelter for former prostitutes who want out of that life, and teaches them skills. She gives them shelter and basically helps them start better lives. I'm gonna get really choked up talking about this part. This part's really impactful. And given the time frame, no one else would have helped those women. This is 1850. No one else would have helped those women. It was Angel who was uniquely qualified. She had the knowledge that what these women needed to get out of that life of prostitution. It was only Angel. God could only use Angel. I'm getting teary-eyed thinking about this. But it was amazing to see, Rivers talking about her submitting to God's will for her life, submitting to that love, and then turning around and showing his love to others. It's a really, really amazing way the story doesn't end there, but it is in the last bit of the book. I will not give away the ending, don't worry. Um, but it's an incredibly impactful way to end the book. And it just shows how God can use anyone. There's that quote: God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the chosen, or he qualifies the called. Um, and that is definitely the case with Angel, because she's like the last person you would think that God would use to do something so amazing as helping these women. But he does, and she does. And it's really, really cool to see. So finally, I'm just going to go over quickly River's writing style. She does have a 20-year history of being a historical fiction writer. And then she became a born-again Christian. This book is actually her testament of faith. Like, this is the book she wrote after she came to Christ again. And she has a really, really incredible way of bringing the past to life. Her writing is incredibly clean. I never really felt too much that there was a point in the story where it was dragging any. There was one point that I don't feel like it was landing as hard as she wanted it to. It was actually the second time Angel ran away from home. It just felt like she was trying to extend the story a little bit. I wasn't quite sure what she was, I don't know, doing there, I guess. It wasn't dragging per se. It was just kind of like, this isn't as impactful as like the other instances in the book have been. But, to be honest with you, that's a really small criticism, because the second time she runs away is actually a pretty small part of the book. It doesn't last very long at all, and Michael goes and gets her. So, overall, I never found myself wishing the story would scoot along. I was really sad when it ended. I was like, no, it has to keep going. And trust me, I will be rereading this again very soon. So yeah, I will say that her writing style is really beautiful. I will say thematically, Rivers does not pull her punches. She deals with some pretty heavy and at times kind of disturbing topics. She does it in a very tasteful way, but this book deals with some stuff that I don't feel like a lot of writers would be willing to deal with in this way. But again, that's the whole point of the book, is to show how God takes those horrible, heinous things, those atrocities that have happened in your past, and he redeems you of them, he cleanses you of them, and then he's like, yeah, okay, now I'm gonna use this for my will. So just be forewarned, it has some pretty heavy and intense topics, but again, I think it's in fitting with the time frame, and it wouldn't have had the impact it did if it didn't have those themes in there. So overall, I am going to give this book a 5 stars. Now, that is not because I'm biased, and it's not because this book has had such an impact on my life. Honestly, it's just because it's so beautifully written. It's just so engaging. I could not put this book down. It just sucked me in immediately, and I wanted to know everything about this. Thematically, her writing style, everything. I was just really, really amazed by this book, and reading some of the reviews and seeing how many copies it sold, you can tell that God is using this. God is using this book to change people's lives, and I can attest to that because it has in my own life. So again, big shout out to Michelle for sending me this. She definitely sent it to me at a time when I needed it. So thank you again to her. So what'd you guys think? Have you read this book? Will you read this book? Did you read it? Did you like it? Did you not? Let me know all those things in the comments below. This book was recently turned into a movie. It came out in January, and I think that will be the first movie I review, because I really did like the movie. There are a couple gripes I have about it, but is what it is. If you like what you heard, please like, share, and subscribe. I would really, really appreciate it. And until next time, guys, I will see you all later. Bye.